How's it going, guys? I hope you're all doing well. In today's video we're going to have a little bit of a transformation on this Mark III Mazda MX5. We have got a whole load of stuff to do to this and it should make it look amazing, so stay tuned. So this has got the usual Japanese car thing. It's got sticky brake slides. One of the calipers is even seized, so I actually drove it to salt coats, freed off the brake enough to drive it through here. I've also done a disc run out check on it. Unfortunately it has warped the front discs, so we have got a massive boot of parts ready for this. So we've got calipers, we've got brake discs, we've got all new slides, new brake pads, and on top of that we've got some nice Eibach lowering springs which should transform the look and the handling a wee bit. So there's a lot of work to get done. Let's get stuck into this. We'll throw it on a quick time lapse just till I get the front end stripped, and then I'll talk you through the process of what we're doing.
I'm winning, get buckets from the court side to the nosebleeds, yeah they love it. I'm winning, get buckets from the first in and the last out, see me coming. First take, I'm hotter than hot, hotter than some boiling water, I bubble the pot. Team full of ballers, baby, we winning a lot. I'm like Curry with the rock when I get to my spot. I'm tapping in, I'm passionate, this is what passion is. This here, nah, this is no accident. From the start to the finish, I'm cashing in. I am number one, not number two. If I'm not the one, I'm uncomfortable. See the competition I've been running through. Leveled up, I only see him in my rear view. Switch, yeah, I'm balling.
Right guys, there we go. As you can see in the time lapse, we've stripped apart the full front end. You have to take the upper suspension arm off in these to get the shock out, because the shock actually goes down through it, and I've tried so many times to get it out without taking these off. It can't be done, so don't waste your time, just take it straight out. And then obviously when you're taking the springs off, you're going to need spring clamps. They are quite long springs, they're quite heavily compressed, so you will need a decent set of spring clamps. Don't try and use the cheap £19 eBay ones, you'll end up killing yourself. I've had these for a while now and I've found these are the safest ones I could get. Got them off of Amazon for about £25–26, something like that. They were on special offer. If I can find a link for them, I'll leave it in the description, but they're by far the best ones I've used. What we're going to do, I've already stripped this down. I've got the Bilstein shock here. This already had the uprated shocks on it, so now we're fitting some Eibach springs, which were heavily recommended on the MX5 owners forum. As you can see, they're a lot shorter, so hopefully we're going to lower this down a little bit and make the ride height a little bit nicer, get a wee bit more attitude. But if you do decide to get some Eibach springs, and like us, you're a little bit confused on what one's what, because they pretty much look identical. VA is for the front springs, HA is for the rear springs. So all we need to do now, rebuild this, get it back on the car, and then we can go and do the other side. Right guys, as with everything, I always like to give everything a good clean and just a wee bit of lube before we put it all back together. Same with all your bolts, we'll give them a wire brush, a bit of a grease up and put them back in. It just makes it a hell of a lot easier to get it all off the next time when you have to do it again. So what I'll also do with this, because we're replacing a load of parts and I've lanigarded this car before, I'll give everything a clean up again and I'll lanigard everything again. I'll just get a wee top up. It literally takes 5 minutes just to get a wee quick spray, and then that's it protected again. So hopefully this spring will go on a bit easier now. I think we'll still need to put the spring clamps on it, but we shouldn't have to compress it as much to get it on. So again, just take everything off in order and leave it lying the way it comes off, and then just put it back on in reverse order, and you'll not make any mistakes, and it's dead easy.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute, had a real late night, woke up with my head spinning out in Nashville. It's been mad real, I need sunglasses, I need Advil. I like fake.
Right guys, the new springs back in, new brakes are on, upper arms back on. Before I fit the caliper, I'm going to put some new brake caliper slides in. because as with most Japanese cars, these are a nightmare as well. They get a wee bit of water in them, they start to go tight, they seize up, and that's partly the cause of the brakes binding on top of a slightly sticky caliper. So we're going to replace these. I've also got sachets of the grease that Mazda use when they're putting these back in. So I've got them for front and back. So when we do the other side, we're going to swap the caliper as well. And when we do the back springs, we're going to replace all these as well. So just a bit of maintenance, and then what we're going to do is every year after that, when we get it in for an oil and filter, we're going to whip these out, clean them, re-grease them, put them back in, and hopefully prevent any more damage, because the discs and pads were only done on this just about a year ago. So unfortunately we have to replace them again. So if we can avoid that in the future, for an hour's labour re-greasing the slides, that's what we'll do. Right guys, that's this side all done, put back together. So now we have to do the exact same on this side. And just like that, this side's all done as well, including the new brake caliper, new spring, and now it turns nice and freely with all the new slides on it. We're not worried about that season. I've even painted the brake caliper to match the rest of them, because I painted these last year. So now they all match. Time to get the wheel on, we'll drop it down. I'm not expecting a massive drop off of this, probably maybe 30mm at the most. We'll probably not get a good look at it until I've driven it and let it settle, but we'll get it down and we'll see how different it looks. Right guys, we're on to the back, and these ones are a little bit more straightforward than the front, but they've got their own challenges. So to start with, you need to strip every bit of plastic out of the inside of the boot to get to the strut tops. Now, these have got cups at the springs and shocks sitting. Don't try and undo them for the top. Undo the two 14mm bolts, and then when you go underneath, there's a 12mm bolt goes up for the bottom. That gets that out. And then for underneath, it simply bolts onto the back of the hub. So there's literally 4 bolts to get these shocks out, but you also have to undo one of the trailing arms so you can move the hub slightly, and even then it's still a bit of a wrestle to get it out, but I'll show you that when it comes to it. But yeah, before you do anything, before you jack it up, strip the whole inside out, and then that allows you to the bolts at the top. Right guys, the trick here is not to undo the ones that will affect the four-wheel alignment, although we are going to get this done anyway because it needs done. If you can do this on your drive and keep it for going out your adjustment, then it's even better. Obviously, if you're going to be lowering it more than sort of 25-30mm, I'd go and get it done anyway. But 9 times out of 10, with just a small drop, you can get away with it. But yeah, this one needs done anyway, so we're going to take this for four-wheel alignment. But this is the one here. If you undo this track control arm here, that allows the hub just to rock back and forward a wee bit, and it allows the drive shaft to move just enough to be able to squeeze the strut down through. So we'll take this one off and then we'll wrestle the strut out. Right guys, I've got this one off. As you can see, that allows the hub to just move back and forward a wee bit. I've took the 12mm off of here. I don't know if you can see that. Just here, this is where the 12mm goes up inside. And then we've knocked it off the pin at the bottom of the hub here. So this is where we now have to wrestle past the drive shaft and the anti-roll bar. So it is a wee bit tight, but you will get it eventually. On these you get away with putting one spring compressor on because they're not massively tight. But what you do need to do, or what I do is good practice, is mark where this all lines up. So your cap here, just put a mark on it to line up with the strut and the bolt hole, because you want it all to slip in nice and easily and go straight back where you took it from. You don't want to be wrestling it and having the spring out of place and all that kind of stuff. So just a quick mark, that way when you're putting it back together, you can line it all back up. Right guys, when it comes to putting the new one on, I said right guys again. How many times in one video can I say right guys? So guys, when it comes to putting the new spring back on, you don't even need the spring compressor. Just set the new spring on, make sure you line everything up the way you marked it, gently push it down, screw the nut on, and you're good to go. Obviously we need to wrestle this back in, but we want to be a little bit more careful because we don't want to scratch our nice new Eibach springs. So let's do this nice and carefully and get this back in. That's us wrestled the rear spring back in, and the last thing to do on this side is just to sort out these back caliper slides, and just like the front, they're super easy. Pull them out. As you can see, the rubber's torn in this one, so that's letting water in. This one here seems alright, it was just a wee bit tight. So I'm going to get these cleaned out. Loads of new grease, loads of new rubbers, and this will be good to go on this side. Right guys, one of the last jobs is to put this interior back together. And I've made this mistake before. These plastic trims go back in a specific order. So if you put the wrong one on first, you can't tuck the other one in behind it. It's all a big pain in the butt, but you just have to persevere with it. I'm sure it's this one first, then that one, then the two side ones. No doubt I'll get it wrong again, but yeah, just be aware of that. Right, after everything I said about putting this interior back together, ignore all that, it was all a load of bollocks. So it's actually the two sides that go on first, then the back, then the front, then the carpet, and that's the order it goes back in. So after doing this a couple of times, I've still bloody done it wrong. So guys, it's been a couple of days. The car has had its tracking done, it's tracking perfectly. We've put some miles on it. It's the suspension settled nicely. It's no too rough, it's no too low, and it's a massive improvement, to be honest. The brakes are working perfect now, everything's in balance, all the slides are new, the suspension's all done. Probably do the bushes at some point in the future, but it's just so agile now. It already turned into corners pretty quick, and darts are even better now. The apex springs aren't too rough. They're no apex, they're Eibach or Eibach, but yeah, they've made such a difference. It's no lowered it too much, it's probably dropped just over a centimetre at the moment. It might settle down a little bit more. But other than that, this car's just a joy to drive. Sun's going down, roof's down, we've gave it a clean, and it's just a blast to drive. It's just great fun. The more and more I drive these, the more and more I like them, so I can probably see an MX5 at some point in my future. Maybe I'll buy it for Katie and just say it's hers and drive it every now and again. But yeah, on that note, this video is coming to an end. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. And if you like the sort of car sales business side of things, make sure you check out our Car Dealer's Diary channel. I'll leave a link in the description for that. See you in the next one.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east.